Hello and welcome to this video where I'm showing you how to rewire your Airsoft battery from Mini-Tamiya, which is this black connector right here, to Dean's, which is this red connector right here. A few reasons you might want to do this is firstly, current capacity. The Mini-Tamiya connector is rated for 10 to 15 amps continuous. If your build is high powered or you're using an 11.1 volt battery, you may exceed that current capacity and actually melt or damage the connector during use of your gun. Secondly, the Mini-Tamiya connector is much larger than the Dean's connector. On the female side of both of these batteries, the Mini-Tamiya connector is almost double the size of the Dean's connector. This means you can fit the Dean's battery into tighter spaces like a buffer tube or a handguard. And finally, it's a little bit easier to connect on a Dean's battery. I have a male end of the connector here, and you can see it's a direct connection, straight plug-in. Whereas on the Mini-Tamiya connector, it's sometimes more difficult to align the pins, and it has a locking feature that makes disconnecting a little bit harder on your fingers.
A bonus reason to use a Dean's connector is that it inherently has a lower resistance compared to a Mini-Tamiya connector. This means as you're using your airsoft gun, there's going to be less heat and power draw from the battery pack, and you might get a little bit of extra performance out of your gearbox.
Let's get started on rewiring the connector. So you need a set of Dean's connectors, electrical tape, solder, a soldering iron, solder paste, in this case it's some flux, wire strippers, wire cutters, and it's usually helpful to have a helping hand. This helping hand is going to hold your wire for you, so it's going to make it a lot simpler during the soldering process. Let's get started removing the Tamiya connector from the old battery. There are a few parts on the battery. First is this larger wire that's connected to the connector. This is where the power is going to flow through and connect into your gun. Secondly, you're going to have this white connector, which is called the balance lead. You'll see that there's a black wire showing neutral or ground, and then a number of wires on the right side of it, depending on the number of cells in your battery. So you have corresponding 3 wires showing the 3 cells of the battery. We don't want to touch this balance lead as it's an important safety feature. Let's start by removing the Mini-Tamiya connector with our pliers. When cutting off the connector, we don't want to cut both wires at once, as we don't want to short the wires. We're going to cut one wire at a time, taking care to insulate each end as we do so. We're going to do that with the positive wire first, the red wire. I'll take my cutters, place it as close to the connector as possible, and cut. Take some electrical tape and insulate that wire. Do the same with the other end. Close to the connector, cut. I'm going to insulate this end as well. Next, we're going to prep this wire by using flux and also tinning the wire. First, I'm going to remove the insulation. Take my wire stripper. I'm going to use the 16 gauge, as this is a 16 gauge wire. Align it to the slot with the amount I want to strip. Gently remove the insulation, just like that. And I like to use my fingers to kind of put the strands of the wire together. I normally don't twist the wires because it can make the solder difficult to flow down. Next, we take our solder paste or flux, turn on our soldering iron, clean the tip, apply the flux, use the solder to create a pool, dip the wire in the flux, and leave it alone. Take our helping hand, clip onto the wire just like so. Now we're going to tin the wire. When you're tinning the wire, you first tin the soldering iron, just like so. Apply just a little bit of solder. Apply the soldering iron to the strands. Then you feed in the solder. You should see the solder travel down the strands of the wire, just like so. A good way to check is by cutting off the tip of the wire you just tinned. And you should see that it's a solid block of solder. Now we're going to re-insulate with our electrical tape. Remove the insulation on the negative wire. Again, we take our wire stripper, align it to the amount we want to strip, and then remove the insulation. Use your hands to align the strands. Take our flux, use the soldering iron, clean the tip, make a pool, dip the wire into the flux, place the wire into the helping hand, tin the soldering iron, tin the wire. Once this is cooled down, we're going to check the wire just like the other one, cut off the tip. Once again, you see it's a solid mass, no strands visible, which means it's good tin. Insulate the tip. Move on to our connector. Here we have our female connector and our male connector. You can notice the female connector is a little bit wider than the male connector, and the female connector is also labeled positive and negative. We'll use both sides of the connector to get some more thermal mass, so the heat that we apply during the soldering process has somewhere to go, just like so. Insulate positive terminal and insulate the terminal just like that. Then we're gonna clip on the connector to our helping hand just like so. So first, de-insulate the terminal, apply your heat shrink, Very important, don't forget that. So you just put the heat shrink on to the body of the wire and leave it down there. Next, we're gonna tin the connector. That looks good. Take my solder and just apply a little bit to the tip of the iron, just like before. That looks good. Now we're gonna take our negative wire. We wanna aim for a flat solder with good connection. So I'm gonna lay the wire flat, just like this. Apply heat to the top. That looks like a solid connection. So it's flat on top of the connector. Once it's cool to the touch, you can slide up the heat shrink all the way to the end of the connector. Just like so, just as high up as you can get it. And then apply your heat shrink. I'm gonna use a lighter. You can use a heat gun or some other device. That looks pretty good. We're gonna move on to the other terminal. Remove the insulation, insulate the other terminal, clip onto the helping hand, de-insulate the previous wire. Gonna flux the connector. Take your solder, tin the connector. That looks good. Next, we take our heat shrink, apply it to the end of the wire, slide it down to the body. Now we're ready to connect the positive end. Just like before, gonna apply heat to the top of the wire. There it is. That looks good. Flat connection. Once that's cooled down, we slide our heat shrink all the way to the end of the connector, as far as it will go. Apply the heat shrink. And then finally, remove the male end of the connector. I'm going to use some pliers, just like so. And you've successfully rewired your Airsoft battery to a Dean's connector. I hope this was a succinct guide for you and helped you understand different processes. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.